Good afternoon, YouTube. My name is Ray Marcotte. Welcome to my channel. I hope you all are having a great day today. I just wanted to talk about a topic that I've been thinking about for probably the last year or so, and it's called You Have to Go to School and Get a Great Education and Work for an Awesome Company to Have a Good Life. Those are the things I think that we hear and that we're told growing up. But in school, we're not really taught about financial literacy and making money work for us rather than working for money. Now, I'm not saying you don't need a job. I'm not saying school isn't important. But what I am saying is that there are other ways to make money and being smart with money you have to create more wealth. And that's kind of where this channel is going to lead towards. I know there's a lot of channels on YouTube that discuss financial planning, financial literacy, and investing. I want to kind of cap in on a lot of those things, but I'm also going to tell you where I came from leading up till now. And the reason I want to tell you about that is because obviously things happen for a reason in life. Well, most of us think that. I truly believe that. So I want to share with you guys some things that I tried in my life when it comes to making money, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, so you guys don't make the same mistakes. I'm not perfect when it comes to money. I don't think anyone can clearly say that they are. But my goal is to help you guys be a little bit smarter when it comes to managing your money and planning for your financial future and financial stability with the power of investing. So, long story short, we'll start right from the beginning just so you guys can get a little bit of background on myself. Going back, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, actually a little city north of Providence. I just say Providence because it's Rhode Island. It's the smallest state. I live in Virginia Beach now. I ended up here because of being military, and when I got out of the military, I stayed. I got in the military because when I graduated high school, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't take my SATs. I didn't really apply for colleges. So at the time, I was like, I'm going to join the Navy because that seemed like the right thing to do. So long story short, I joined and I enlisted in the Navy. I had a lot of family tell me that school is super important. You got to go to school. You got to get a good education. I actually did fairly well in high school. So I figured, oh, while I'm in the Navy, the first year or two went by. I said, let me apply for the Naval Academy. If you don't know what the Naval Academy is, you can look it up. It's in Annapolis, Maryland. It's one of the prestigious military schools. So I applied for the Naval Academy, and I was denied the first year, but I don't really quit in life, so I figured, why not? I'll get off the horse, jump back on. So I applied again, and I got accepted that year, which was the second year. I was pretty shocked. I didn't really foresee that happening to me, just because that's, I don't know, you read up on the Naval Academy, and it seemed like it was super difficult to get into. Granted, I kind of worked my you know what off to get in, so hard work paid off, and before I knew it, I was off to the Naval Academy. So I won't really talk about the time there, just because that's kind of irrelevant, but I went through my 4 years there. I got out and I became a surface warfare officer. So I did that, I was doing my thing there, and I didn't really like the lifestyle of being in the military. I always thought it would be very difficult to have a family and things of that nature from being gone for so long and on deployments and everything. So I ended up getting out after my tour was over, and slightly, I don't know, about a month after I got out, oh, sorry, a month before I got out, I started getting into music production, just a little side thing I enjoyed doing and I kind of wanted to pick up. So I started producing electronic music, so house music, things like that. And I started DJing. I bought a DJ setup because at the time, when I knew I was going to get out of the military, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I thought, okay, well, let me become a DJ because I didn't really think of how hard that would be. And it's unrealistic because it's really, really difficult to get into because there's so many celebrity DJs out there that are already at the top. So it's not one of those things that you can just be like, oh, okay, this is what my career is going to be. So obviously I had to get a job. So I started looking on Google and different websites like that, and I found a company called Cellular Sales, which is I didn't know at the time, but it was a company who was a premium partner with Verizon Wireless, and they sold Verizon Wireless products and services. So going back a little bit, in high school, I had some sales experience. I worked at a company, everybody knows it. It's called Radio Shack. I don't think it's around anymore, but I figured let me do something that I knew I had experience in. So I applied, I got the job, had the interview, everything went great. I was a little nervous because I hadn't had an interview in so long, but it went really good. This was like almost 8 years ago. 8 years in May. This May, I will have been working for Cellular Sales. So that started to go good, and I was still doing my DJing thing on the side. I actually managed to start doing some local shows. So I was pulling in some good side hustle money from that, and I didn't do like the hottest when I first started at Cellular Sales, but I was doing okay. I was doing enough to get by, and I saw some of these other guys that were making all this crazy money, and but my main focus at the time was music, and I was still kind of new to everything, so I didn't really think that that was a very hard space to get into. So I didn't focus a lot of my energy on my normal cellular sales day job. I focused most of it on the DJing and the music production. I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't know at the time. I was kind of naive with the whole, dream of becoming a celebrity DJ. So within that time frame, I met my now wife, and we started dating, and we're going back and forth long distance. And before I knew it, she ended up moving here, and we moved in together. And then I started kind of reversing the roles and putting a little bit more time into cellular sales. She actually worked there as well, so it was cool because we had dual incomes coming in. It was great. I was still doing music heavily on the side. So I was probably 50-50, putting in 50% of effort into music and 50% of effort into cellular sales. So the money started getting better, and I realized like the potential I could do when it came to working for this company. So skipping forward a few months, or I should say maybe a year, we started thinking about purchasing a house together, my wife and I. So we started shopping around, and we applied for some pre-approval mortgages, and we were a little bit above where we wanted to be. So we adjusted to our realistic spending limit and ended up closing a house. So that was a really awesome deal. It was cool to see that the company I had worked for, paid for us to get that house. So it's a cool concept, but I really wanted to look for something more financially smart when it came to planning for the future. Knowing that cellular sales paid good money, I also knew I had to be smart with that money if I wanted to make it go longer and work for me versus working for a company till I'm 65, 70 years old. So I started thinking of different ways I could maybe come up with some sideline income, duh. So at the time, cryptocurrency was really, really big, and I decided, let me get into cryptocurrency because I had a lot of friends that were doing it, and it seemed like it was a foolproof system where people were making like a ton of crazy money. So I just started putting money into Bitcoin and altcoins, and I was, putting money into Coinbase and Binance. If you guys have used crypto, you've probably heard of Binance, but things were going like friggin' awesome. Like I was making a bunch of money off cryptocurrency, but it was kind of a worrisome feeling because all this money was going into like this like elemental space that I really had no idea like how cryptocurrency worked or what created the value in it. So this was around the peak when Bitcoin hit crazy numbers. And I actually, if I would have pulled out at that time, I would have actually made some pretty decent money, but I ended up holding and I lost money. So life lessons learned, you can't go back in time. You can only fix what's in the present. So I cut my losses on that one. And then I started putting in more work into cellular sales. And actually, year on year, I ended up making more money from the time I started at cellular sales up until now. And it's hard to believe, but it's actually almost 3 times the annual income, and it's 100% commission based. So for me, that was really killer to see those kind of numbers. And actually, this year now, I made it in the top 50 sales reps in the entire country out of like 8,000. So that's, to me, that was an awesome accomplishment. So skip back a little bit, about 2 years ago, after the cryptocurrency thing, and kind of putting a halt on the music industry, not industry, but I wasn't doing as many shows. I put a halt and stopped and just focused on a few bigger shows. I heard a lot about a topic called dropshipping, and it was like this awesome business where you can essentially buy cheap products from China, from like a wholesaler like AliExpress. It's kind of like a Chinese Amazon. I'm sure most of you guys know that. I'd always heard about people drop shipping and making like a killing, like millions of dollars. And I was like, man, I want to try drop shipping. That sounds pretty incredible. So I started educating myself, and I found it to be pretty simple. You basically just purchased a wholesale item, and you picked an item that had a really sweet niche that everyone could benefit from and everyone thought was super cool. You run Facebook ads, you run Google ads, and then you sell the products at a markup, like 2 to 3 times a markup, and you keep the profits. I talked to my wife about it. We had one store that we opened up. It was called Moms and Tykes, and it was actually her idea, because it was a baby shop. So basically, we just sold baby clothes. It was kind of like a baby boutique, just because when we first opened that store at that time, we had our first kid. We had a baby boy, so it was interesting for her. So I told her, all right, I'll take the knowledge that I've learned from drop shipping, and we'll find some wholesalers and we'll build like an online boutique, like a baby boutique. I had zero experience in any of this. So I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know how to run an online business, but there's so many powerful tools out there that you can look up on YouTube and other sources. Reddit's got pretty good information. So we launched the store. I built the website. It took a ton of work, but the website came out really awesome. I'll actually put a link down below if you guys want to check it out. That shop still is open, and it took a while. It took a long time to build, but the feeling of knowing that I learned something like that powerful, and the ability to to do things that I've never done before like that, it was pretty cool. I graduated with a degree in chemistry. I'll probably never ever use that. That was really, mind blowing that I was able to do that. So this was even more mind blowing, just because it was generating income coming in. Granted, it wasn't a lot. It was something that I did from scratch that was making money. So that was pretty cool, but it wasn't enough. And we were making maybe 2% after all the expenses and everything like that. When you include like Facebook ads and the cost of the products, and customers might file chargebacks. So I kind of stopped. I stopped doing that store. Like I said, it's still open, but I don't focus a lot into it. If people buy stuff, they buy stuff. If they don't, they don't. I did, however, research and come to find out that a lot of people who drop shipped said that you should start a drop shipping store that has only one single product, one product that is going to sell like beyond all. So did a lot of research, and I found a single product that seems like it would benefit pretty much like a whole vast amount of people, versus like baby clothes where it only applies to a specific group of people, like moms who have newborns. So the product we picked, it was portable blenders, like USB blenders where you can actually juice and make smoothies to go, things like that. So we found a wholesaler from China, and we popped a really good deal with them. We sold 3 models of blenders. It was a 1-page website, and it did really well. Like, I was completely shocked. Probably, I want to say, a month after we launched it, we were having days that were like in the 4 digits, like $1,000 days. But just like the other store, you had ad expense from Facebook, from Google. You had the cost of the products. You had customers that may initiate a chargeback. So there was a lot that goes into it. We did have a better rate as far as like what we actually profited. I think with that store, it was probably 10 to 15% like true profit after everything, like after all the expenses. But with me still doing music, and on top of putting the amount of work I was putting into Cellular Sales, it was just a little bit like too overwhelming, and I didn't want to continue that shop. So I sold it, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna get off the fact of drop shipping. I'm gonna give it up. If I was only doing that full time, and I didn't have the bills I have now, if I didn't have 2 car payments and a mortgage payment and a baby to feed and a family to take care of, like, drop shipping would have probably been where I would have gone, and this YouTube channel would have been about drop shipping, and it would have probably been me trying to sell a course on drop shipping. Just to let you guys know, I'm not selling any courses. I'm not giving away any webinars. I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm simply making this channel to give you guys knowledge of smart financial planning, investing, and things that I've tried that have worked and that haven't worked. So far, as a recap, we got cryptocurrency. That didn't really work, and it didn't really work for most people unless you got involved like right away. I'm assuming most people probably didn't make a ton of money. And then drop shipping. If I would have gotten into drop shipping when it first started, it would have probably been a little bit more profitable, but it's such a saturated market and everybody's doing it. So I figured I would stop that. And actually, I stopped trying to do side money, and I just focused everything on Verizon Cellular Sales. So last year, I ended up making President's Club for my company, which was awesome because that's the top 1 to 2% of all the sales reps in the entire country that work for my company. So it was pretty cool. They paid for us to go to Puerto Rico, and I didn't realize it until I actually got there, like how great of an accomplishment that felt for me, especially since I started working there only because I got out of the military and I had no idea for the life of me what I wanted to do. And I was originally going to only apply to work there as a temporary job until I found out exactly what I wanted to do. And 8 years later, I'm still here. And actually this year I made President's Club again. So I'm off to Cancun here shortly. So anyways, we'll go back a little bit. I want to say like 6 months ago, I started trying to think of what I was going to do to plan for my financial future so I could have a good life for my family and my wife and my baby, and also not have to work until I'm 150 years old. Because as good as a company as Cellular Sales is, I can't see myself working in like a retail position until I'm 65 years old. So I started looking into a topic that I've heard a lot about growing up my whole life. It's called stock market investing in the stock market. I have a father who is heavily invested in the stock market. He always told me that was the smartest way to go. It's one of those subjects that I never really touched upon, and I never really dug into just because I didn't know about it. But I figured if I tried crypto, if I tried drop shipping, and I taught myself about those things, then why can I not do this? So I started researching the stock market and smart ways to invest, and I came across some cool YouTube channels of these guys that gave some incredible knowledge. But it was also at that point that I started discovering a lot of people on YouTube try to sell you a course, or they try to tell you they have this like get rich quick scheme. And sadly, a lot of people do fall for that. And if you guys ever come across that, you should probably know that half of those are flawed. I'm not saying that those people aren't making money, but they probably got into whatever they're talking about first and they're making more money. A lot of those MLM schemes, multi-level marketing schemes, things like that. I'm totally against that kind of stuff. And please know I'm not here to try to sell you guys anything. I just want you guys to be able to learn from my mistakes and also some achievements as well. I'm no financial genius, so anything I tell you guys is just speculative. It's just how I think things should be done and how I'm doing things.
So I started to look into the stock market, and keep in mind, this is one of those things that I knew nothing about. Like the other things that I've done, like drop shipping and cryptocurrency, I did nothing but knowledge. So I figured are one of those things that I'm just gonna kind of do some knowledge on, go on YouTube, go on forums, and start looking up like the best content and websites to research things like these. I knew the stock market was a very powerful tool. I just myself was always a little bit afraid to get into it because I just literally knew nothing about it. So skip back 2 years ago, and I actually had an application on my phone called Robinhood, which, if you don't know what that is, it's essentially uh, a simple broker that's an application and a website that you can get on your phone, and you can start a free account and you can do commission free trades on with stocks and ETFs and bonds and things like that. It's made super simple for those that don't know really a ton about investing, and it alleviates you having to pay, an actual like human broker to manage your portfolio for you. So 2 years ago, I had the app. I didn't do anything with it. I only got it because I saw a post on Facebook about getting a free stock, and I was like, okay, well, let me download this and I'll get my free stock. Lo and behold, I got a free stock. I think it was like Ford, or I can't even remember. It was something only like $10 or $15, but it was free money, and I was cool with it at that point. So about, I want to say, 9 months ago, I started looking up other applications for investing, and I came across one really cool app. Well, I thought it was cool at the time. It's called Stash. A lot of people probably heard about that. It's essentially an application. It's a paid application, so it's $1 per month, all the way up to $9 per month, depending on what you want the application to do for you. It was pretty cool because you could set it to automatically invest, and you could choose like the individual funds, stocks, bonds, ETFs that you wanted it to invest in. The only thing I found about that is, for one, it wasn't free. So even though it was only $1 per month, that still kind of annoyed me. That Robinhood, on the other hand, was free. It was $0 per month unless you sign up for Robinhood Gold, which I'll get into later. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I think I set it on like $20 a week in Stash, and I picked a few different ETFs, and I did a little bit of research on what had like the greatest growth within a 5 year time frame. I got up to like $600, and it was at that point where I started using Robinhood again, and I saw this one guy on YouTube. He made a video. It was like 6 months ago, and his name's Andre Jack. If you don't know him, you can check out his channel. He's a super knowledgeable guy. He has a ton of information to give out, and he's actually one of the biggest reasons I got started like heavily into using Robinhood and other applications that I'll get into in a little bit. But Robinhood's an awesome online broker. So after I saw one of his videos, and I can actually recall the video I saw, it was about how he was making like near $800 a month in dividends from DGI, which is dividend growth investing. I really wanted to be on that level to where I could be like financially independent. I could be excited to be saving for the future for my family, my wife, my baby, and not have to worry about working till I was 65 years old. But it was one day I decided I was going to throw like $100 into Robinhood, and I saw the money start to go up a little bit. When I first threw money into Robinhood, I wasn't so much researching companies. I was just investing in companies that were bigger tech companies that I've heard of before, like AMD and Micron. And then I also invested in some like real estate REITs, things like that. I wasn't focusing on dividends because I didn't really know a lot about what dividends were, but I just saw Andre Jick investing in Robinhood with $200,000, and I was like, man, this is this is what I want to do. So I started investing like more incremental deposits, like $100, $500. I think I put in $1,000 one time, and within about 3 months, I got up to about 4,000 in Robinhood, and I want to say 3,200 of that was my own money, and around 800 was actual like gains. So for me to have made like almost 25% in gains in 3 months, that was like astonishing to me. I was mind blown. But at the same time, even as a newbie to the stock market, I knew that that was a little bit overinflated from what the normal stock market returns back year over year, which is typically like 7 to 8% or 6% if you include overall inflation. It was at that time where I started doing a little bit more research on other platforms because I liked the idea that Stash you could auto invest, and Robinhood you couldn't really auto invest. You could only auto deposit, but you still had to purchase, the funds or stocks or any sort of investments. You could not. You could. There's no way you could set it on auto invest. So I did a little bit more research and I came across this application called M1 Finance. And M1 Finance is really what I'm going to focus on when I do talk about my portfolio within this channel. And the reason I switched to M1 Finance is, for one, it's more like Stash where you can auto invest, but it's like Stash on steroids. And let me elaborate a little bit. So essentially, the biggest differences between Robinhood and M1 Finance is that up until about a month ago, you could not buy fractional shares on Robinhood. And what fractional shares are is, let me give you an example. You have Amazon. Amazon's over $2,000 for one share. Like, that's outrageous. So for the average normal person to just say, hey, let me buy a share of Amazon, like, that's not very probable, especially if you're very new and you don't have a ton of money to put into the market. So on M1 Finance, you could purchase what's called a fractional share. And a fractional share is, let's say you have a whole piece of Amazon, but you only want to purchase this amount. You want to purchase 2% of a share of Amazon. On M1 Finance, you could do that, while on Robinhood, you couldn't do that up until now. So props to Robinhood. Thank you for allowing us to buy fractional shares. That's pretty awesome. But even if you were to say that those things meet even Steven, I still think M1's better, because with M1 you can do auto invest and it's free. So unlike Stash, where they charge you between $1 and $9 a month, M1 Finance is absolutely free unless you sign up for M1 Plus, which I'm not going to get into now, but on the next video when I go into like a little bit more in detail on the platforms, I'll tell you guys what M1 Plus is and what Robinhood Gold is, just so you guys are aware of that. I do some of that myself, and I'll explain why on the next video. But essentially, yeah, with M1 Finance, it's free. And not only can you auto invest, but you can basically pick like a super diversified portfolio. So I'll give you an example. For me, I have over 60 holdings, and some of those are bonds, some of those are ETFs, and most of those are stocks. Primarily, everything I hold is dividend paying funds. So dividends are a really cool thing. If you haven't heard of it, essentially it's a company that makes enough money or so much money that they can actually afford to pay their shareholders a certain percentage, which is called their dividend yield. And again, I'll get into more of this later. So the type of investing I do, which it took me a few months to land it down. At first, I was doing growth investing on Robinhood. I didn't care about dividends. Now I'm doing DGI, which is dividend growth investing. So my whole M1 portfolio is averaging around 3.67% dividends, which is great because even if the market fluctuates and I go up or down in growth, I'm still going to get paid dividends from these companies. And as long as you're going with safe dividend safety scores, the chances of you losing the dividend or getting the dividend cut are not extremely likely. So going back to the whole diversified portfolio in M1, the way it works is you have a whole pie, which is 100% of your investments. And within that pie, you can either take individual companies and say, let's say you want to put 10% in Apple, 10% in Microsoft, 10% in Netflix, and then take the other 70% and put it into, I don't know, Tesla, because everybody loves Tesla right now. The one holding I don't have. But, anyways, you can either go something as simple as that, or you can do like I do, where you have pies within pies. So I have my 100%, and then within that 100%, I do 20% in real estate, 20% in, let's say, finance, 20% in medical. I don't do those exact percentages. I'll get into my portfolio in a later video. I'm just giving you guys an example. But within those pies, then you can have your individual stocks or ETFs. So you can get really, really clever when it comes to what you invest. And then the way you get the money into there is you tell M1, hey, I want to invest a certain amount per week, per month, per every other week, however you want to do it. Me personally, I do $150 weekly, so that's $600 a month into my investments portfolio. And then the last thing with M1 that I like better than Robinhood is the fact that you can do other accounts like Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs. So, me personally, I have a Roth IRA. I started that way too late in life. But, I do 401k through Cellular Sales as well. But really, I'm just trying to break down kind of what I'm doing now after learning all the lessons I've learned in the past from doing drop shipping and cryptocurrency and everything else that I've done. And to kind of sum things up, I'm not saying that you only have to invest in the stock market. Like, passive income is great. People do really, really well when it comes to things like drop shipping and cryptocurrency and Amazon FDA. It's just me personally, with the amount of stuff I have going on with work. I just don't have the time to be doing all that, especially with the family and the baby. And I have 2 days a week off, and I really like to utilize those days as my family days. And, I do research too on the market and things like that. But it's just really where I'm going with this video. I think that financial planning is one of the things that most people lack in life, including myself up until recently. I mean, I'm 35, and if I would have started everything I'm doing now back when I was 20, I would be in so much better of a position than what I'm in now. But the way I look at it is now I'm playing catch up. So I'm making a decent amount of money at Cellular Sales. I'm trying to save a pretty decent amount of my income. 15% is what I'm trying to invest away. That's why I'm getting, bills chipped off, things paid down. And as I get things paid down, I will increase those percentages. But I'm not going to drag this out too long. I really was not trying to go over 30 minutes, but I'm super excited to start this channel with you guys and be able to document what I'm doing. And just keep in mind, like, everything I'm doing or everything I'm saying on here, it's super speculative. I'm not a financial genius. What I'm giving you is not financial advice. So please just take it with a grain of salt. You guys still need to do your own research and make your own decisions. I'm just truly telling you what I'm doing and what I think, works well. And lastly, how I think things should be done. So if you guys want to do what I'm doing, that's awesome. If you guys have any other, feedback, and you say, "Hey Ray, this is how I'm doing. What do you think about this?" Gladly drop it in the comments below, and I will seriously write back to every single comment that comments down there. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up below. Hit that subscribe button. This is my first video ever on YouTube. Sorry for not having like a ridiculous studio. I'm actually in my music studio where I make music. If you guys want to hear my music too, I will post that below. The last thing is, with platforms like M1 Finance and Robinhood, and I even have another one called Webull. They generally give you like free stuff for signing up. So I will leave all my links down there. There's no catches, no gimmicks. I'm not selling you a course. I'm not trying to get you to join some crazy webinar. I don't have a Lamborghini outside Sorry, maybe later. Just kidding. I'm frugal. I would never buy a Lamborghini. Um, but just to run down real quick, if you guys click the link below and sign up for Robinhood, you'll get a free stock, and I'll get a free stock, and that can range anywhere from $5 all the way up till I think like $200 or $150. Um, you don't have to do anything. Literally, just click the link, sign up, and you get a free stock. If you sign up for M1 Finance, which is also free, doesn't involve any money. I think you do have to make a deposit, but you'll get $10 for free just for signing up for M1 Finance. And then if you do Webull as well, which is another free trading application slash broker slash platform slash invest your money, you'll get a free stock for signing up with them. So it's literally free money, guys. So while you're taking in some knowledge on this channel, which I hope that you do, click those links below, pick up your free stock or your free $10. And I really hope to see you guys chime in on the next video. I'm going to try to release videos once a week. I know today's Thursday, but I'm going to try to release videos every Sunday. So if I skip this Sunday, they're going to start next Sunday and every Sunday after that. Share this channel with your friends, and I hope that you guys have an incredible weekend coming up. Make some smart financial decisions. Invest your first $100 in the stock market, and I promise you, good things will come. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.